Now is the time for all good men to come to the aid of their country. Well, that's not just an old-school typing drill. It's a perfect thought for the day. And that's just what Bernie Sanders has done most recently on CNN. He's been the voice of reason and a respected politician throughout his career. It's a career that's seen incredible changes in the American political system and the evolving cultural landscape. And through it all, Senator Bernie Sanders has been a significant force in politics because he speaks his mind and lets the chips fall where they may.
If we can't, no, I have the mic. I'm sorry.
This is
Hold
what
it.
he said.
You'll have your time.
Okay.
Can I respond?
Oh, no, you can't. This is a hearing. And God knows the American people have enough contempt for Congress. Let's not
I don't
make
like
it worse.
thugs and bullies.
You have,
And that's
you
what-
have
I don't like you, because you
Hold
just
it.
described yourself.
In this case, the chips fall on the New York Times and their heavy-handed bias against Biden. And in the clips you'll see from this latest interview just on CNN, Bernie lays out the Times and offers his vital perspective on the most important presidential race in American history. Bernie nails key points about the political chaos we find ourselves embroiled in, the president's ability to run to the finish line, the tainted political coverage from the New York Times, and in this clip, the failing role the media has played by focusing on style above substance.
What media does, to a large degree, is make politics into a beauty contest, into a Grammy award-winning contest. You are voting for somebody on policy. Who is going to improve your life? Do you want somebody who thinks that climate change is a hoax, who takes away women's right to control their own bodies, who has appointed extremely anti-union leaders to his administration?
It's kind of hard to hear a reference to a beauty contest and not think about that creepy orange pageant owner and the perverse delight he seems to take from spying on his innocent and vulnerable contestants.
Donald Trump loves a beauty pageant. And by his own admission, he was no stranger backstage while owning parts of 3 different pageants for nearly 2 decades.
You know, they're standing there with no clue. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible looking women. And so I sort of get away with things like that.
But I digress. Let's instead focus on a man of character, not the peeping Don. So how does Senator Sanders feel about President Biden forging ahead in this contest between democracy and autocracy? And what should Biden's message be to voters? Well, here's the senator from Vermont as he sets the record straight.
Right now, President Biden is the Democratic nominee. Until I hear differently, I will support him. And I do believe that if he makes it clear that he is prepared to stand up for working people, take on powerful special interests, yeah, he will win the election.
And if he does not run, would you support the
I'm
vice
not gonna-
president if he gets behind her?
Right now, Biden is the Democratic nominee, period.
You know, after watching that clip, one of the myths we definitely need to bust is which candidate is obliged by character to look out for the underdog, the disenfranchised, and the working class. I think we all know that answer intuitively. Obliged by character. That actually might be a good measuring stick as we move ahead. And as applied to Senator Sanders, we find an always wise, reliably stoic, and often memed elder statesman in a country that needs as much wisdom as it can get.
We can be a nation in where everyone, no matter their race, their religion, their disability, or their sexual orientation, realizes the full promise of equality that is our birthright as Americans.
But it's his harsh criticism of the New York Times in the clip that we're about to see that Bernie levels the playing field and schools the Times directly about its focus on big money stories that could hurt Biden, instead of reporting on his connection to the average American for whom democracy was designed and for whom it's obliged by that design to serve. In our final clip from his latest interview with CNN, Bernie pulls no punches in his analysis of the New York Times coverage and the disservice it does to its audience.
What are you hearing from your fellow Democratic senators tonight?
Well, what I'm hearing from the people of this country, and I get around the country a lot, is that they want politicians to stand up for a working class and take on powerful special interests who are in many ways running our country. You know, I find it interesting. There have been, I think, 5 or 6 articles in the New York Times talking about what the donor class, right? This is what the donors are thinking. Really? The last I heard, American democracy was supposed to be about what ordinary people think, not just wealthy people. So I think the crisis that we're facing right now is that we need a Democratic Party to make it clear they're going to stand up for the working class of this country. They're going to tackle big money interest, and they are going to pass legislation which improves lives for all people, not just a few.
In this election, all the marbles are not on the table. Only the big blue one that floats near Venus and rotates around the sun. And voices like Senator Sanders, well, they're the gravitational pull this country and our world needs to align with ideals that advance us and not reverse us. Yeah, there's a march for power for sure, absolute power, by the wealthy elite and the politically extreme, who find themselves cozily in bed together, excited by the chance to bang the daylights out of the working class and the disenfranchised for their own perverse personal gain. But nothing stops an unwanted advance like that better than a swift kick in the cojones, and that's what Bernie Sanders, a unified Democratic Party, and every working-class American, the ones with the most to lose, can do to fend off those who would pretend to represent your pain and empathize with your suffering, but would ultimately sell you out in a Mar-a-Lago minute.